Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. Today we're playing e4 as per usual. c4 here is going to be the Steiner variation against the French, and they go for h6. What kind of inane prophylaxis are we witnessing here? I don't understand this move at all, apart from the fact that maybe our opponent just wants to get us out of theory or something. Either way, if we assume that they might be castling kingside here, just based on how easy it is for them to get out these two pieces and do so, we can already start vaguely formulating ideas of g6 being weak. What is this? This is just blatantly annoying at this point. What are you doing? Don't you dare play a6. Oh, this is one of them. It's either called like the creepy crawly or the hippo or the something or other. Hedgehog maybe. Okay, this is absolute garbage of an opening. I am all for garbage openings, but not this kind of garbage opening. Not the kind of garbage opening where it's not even fun to play. I mean, if you're going to play trash chess, is this fun? Is this enjoyable? Are you having a good time here? Okay, dude, come on. Come on. No, I've had enough of this. I've absolutely had enough of this. We're going to punish our opponent for their insolence. Their absolute insolence. Right. We can lift the queen up now. Maybe to go queenside so that we can chuck some pawns at this king and just get really at their completely underdeveloped position. Now, the question of queen d2 or queen c2 is interesting. Queen c2 might provide us with the opportunity to play e5 with tempo on this knight, which potentially could be useful. If the knight comes out to g5, I could probably play like h4. I might even play h4 like now. And in fact, you know what? We're going to. I mean, what are you doing? There's just no development here. f6. Oh my... I mean, Ben Feingold somewhere just smashed his head into a wall. Opponent has just voluntarily trashed their light squares. Okay, today we're going to be looking at why you cannot play chess like this. How to actually exploit it when your opponent is just doing inane and stupid things. I mean, in the first case, they're pre-moving, so I could probably like just take this pawn right now and they would pre-move this or something. Right, we're going to go queen d2. Okay, yeah, good that we didn't do this because they hadn't actually pre-moved. That might have just been a terrible idea. However, they did play knight c6. Okay, now already, given the lack of mobility of these pieces and just the cramped, like, completely unspacious nature, there must be a better word than unspacious there. Restricted, I guess, but we'll go with restricted nature of the pawn structure here. I'm already considering ideas of sacrificing here, just because the check, maybe even knight g5, but we just sacrifice to open up the h-file, even if they take with the pawn maybe. That is all potentially possible now. I think we're just going to start by castling. I mean, we have a huge dominant central claim. They push here. Now, there's the immediate option to push past. Knight b4, we could drop the bishop back to b1 even. I don't really love doing that because it seems like we kind of shut out some of our potential attacking ideas. I mean, just look at this knight. What? This is actually just annoying me at this point. I think I'm just going to ignore this and play rook g1. I mean, we're going to go for this king's neck fairly ruthlessly. If you choose to take, we take with the knight, of course. We could then play f3 and g4, or maybe just g4 straight away. I mean, the fact that your knight has no moves, your dark square bishop literally has no moves. Okay, yeah, they play bishop g4 probably to prevent us from playing g4, but I could very easily kind of take a leaf out of my opponent's book here, whack the knight on h2, and I mean, given that this is not pinned to anything, like, I don't see a reason why I shouldn't do so. Slap that knight on h2 and then just storm forward. Just absolutely storm forward. Now, maybe bishop here and the bishop goes back to f7, and you could argue that actually the light squares are kind of well protected there, but we're coming. We're coming with all the pawns. They take and fork me. I feel like this just isn't a problem because we just take the bishop here, and whichever you take, we can just recapture in the end. So, you know, opponent's not really won any material, and they've also given me the opportunity now to push this pawn. Also, we can drop the knight back, evacuating the g4 square to then play g4 ourselves. Okay, now they're toasted. Now they're absolutely toasted. I think it's just got to be g4. Although, do I really want to lose this? And also, g4 does blunder a fork. Hold on. You know, in the words of Giggs, I'm talking the hardest, but I'm not exactly... I'm not exactly backing it up with anything very concrete right now. I think what I'm going to do is just drop back with the bishop here. I don't think this knight has anywhere very exciting that it can go, and I think we're going to very quickly be able to play f4. The irreparable damage done to my opponent's pawn structure around their king doesn't even need exploiting very quickly. More that we can now just take our time, play a move like f4, then g4, then like g5, march forward, get these rooks open, and all the while our king is going to be chilling. That is insane, although I guess you're now threatening to take the pawn. Fair. I was saying it's insane because we could push with tempo on the knight, but then you do just take the pawn. But again, this is just tempo, right? This is just free tempo. Honestly, I'm going to play knight e2 here, swing the pieces a little closer to the king side, defend the pawn, and then be playing, you know, e5 or g4 very soon. Also, there's just something a little nice about having the ponies next to each other, the rooks next to each other. Got that aesthetic position. And there's nothing more important than having an aesthetic position. But this move is just, it's begging to be played. It is absolutely begging to be played. The light squares are so weak, and if we just tab back here, you see our opponent allowed their light squared bishop to be gotten rid of. it just does not bode well. To make permanent structural weaknesses on the light squares here by pushing and having your pawns on the dark squares, and then allow your light square bishop to be traded, it just makes no sense. I mean, look at the state of this bishop here. It has no moves. You can't even play f5 because I take. You can't play this because we have not only some kind of Marozzi bind on d5, but we also control it with the knight and with the queen. The rook now comes up onto the light squares. What is even happening at this point? We can push. They can drop the knight back to f8. This is ridiculous. Let's just start with g4. I mean, it needs to happen. We got all the pawns next to each other. We got the rooks next to each other. We got the knights next to each other, and it's just gonna be breaking at the right moment. I'd feel significantly less confident if I had a dark square bishop and my opponent had a light square bishop, but I mean, that's clearly not the case. And now it seems pretty impossible to argue that g5 isn't a good move. I mean, in the first instance, we're threatening a fork. We can also just take here. This pawn's still protected. We've now opened the H file. Probably the G file is soon to be opened as well. They do control this square about 1,000,000 times. So, you know, we are probably sacrificing a pawn in doing this. But then I'm thinking maybe even f5. And then knight f4, and we put the knight in one of these squares. Although, you know, opponent is very much cocooning the position here. But you have to deal with the threat of just a simple g6 fork. So the rook doesn't even have any moves like this. We could play bishop b3 and just be threatening c5 as well. Yeah, so they do take, of course. Honestly, really and truly, we're hopping in with the pony. If you take here, this becomes a massive target. There's also potential for some knight h6 shenanigans, I'm not entirely sure. If you take like this, then we're bringing the other knight in. Have you ever seen more primed pieces for some tactical denouement of the building positional excellence? I do think I should probably improve the bishop slightly though. We don't have anything concrete yet, and I could very easily let this slip away and just lose the game. That would suck. You know, that would very much suck. They're defending this 1, 2, 3 times, which means given that we're only attacking it 3 times, we can't necessarily capture here because bishop takes, rook takes, queen takes. Like, we're just gonna lose material. And there's no tactic where we sack for the knight because the other knight somehow is there. I think it could be time, honestly, just to lift the rook. Just a patient little move. I mean, which rook? I don't think particularly matters. Let's just play rook h2 here, just to give quite literally another dimension to the play here with the rooks. We're now working in r2, or I guess n2, given that we can only move in discrete integer, but okay. Point is, we're working in 2 dimensions now. They move their knight. Oh, you see, now there's an idea. There's a brewing idea to sacrifice. Or there's the more convincing idea to just play rook h1 and say, look, we've opened the h file. Your knight is hanging. I think you might even just have to play the knight back to f8. Just a brutal necessity of a regression. Else, I mean, you move the knight, you get checkmated. You don't move the knight, I think it just hangs. You could play g6, allowing the rook to defend the knight, but if you play g6, then there's going to be knight h6, the king moves, we take the rook, the king recaptures, and then we take the knight. So it's not even just an exchange, it's just a full rook that we win there. So I really do think knight f8 is going to be necessary. Yep, there we go. Okay, fine, fair. This makes sense. It seems a little slow, but I could just play king b1. Honestly, I'm going to do it just so I'm potentially at some point threatening to take here without nasty pinning ideas. Again, you can just never play g6 because of knight h6. You can do that though, that's very interesting. What the hell? Take. Hold on, I can also push past and attack the bishop. Also, pushing past opens up this bishop. Okay, hold on. The question is, do we take here first? The answer, maybe yes. Because I don't really want to allow you to take here and open up the threat of trading queens. I kind of hate that. Like, imagine this, they could actually go here because if I trade the queens, they can save the bishop at the same time, maybe? I'm sure we'd still have tactical ideas, but I think I prefer taking here. They take with the pawn, we just close the d file, then we push past with e5, then the bishop's opened. This absolute focal point on h7 is soon to be exploited. They just take the pawn. Okay, I'll take here. And I mean, I don't really think that's solved many of your problems here. We still have a knight on f5. You still have just this disgusting problem on h7. I mean, you see, it required very little calculation to know that we could get away with just sacking a pawn. They bring the rook across. Clearly they actually want to sack for this, I'm fairly certain. We could also push, because if you play knight takes, we of course get to take here. So pushing isn't ridiculous. Hold on, and then do we just do this? Do we just push and push? Why not? Why not? If you decide to sack, we can take with the queen, which does the same job of holding the knight, so that's absolutely fine. If you come up, we can fork. If you go under, we can take. If you go across here, ooh, that's more interesting. But we can still fork? Because if you take this... Oh, they just sacked for the knight there. I mean, okay, dude. Okay. I just think you can't be sacking this much material and still be in a losing position and hope to have just any chance of winning the game. Now this pawn holds the f7 square. Any potential escape for the king, just you're not even dreaming of it. And now you've either got to take this, of course, which they're going to be forced to do, else they're going to have to go to h8. Then we take with the rook. And rook h8 will be very much all she wrote, I believe. You're just down a rook and a knight for 2 pawns here. The h-file absolutely exploited to the utmost extent. There's not even the risk of any meaningful checks here. I guess you could go for this, presumably, but now we just go check. If the king comes up, we get to take this. Or we get to go check here, which I kind of like, actually. Because if you take this, can we go check here, maybe? Just keep pursuing that king? I guess you come back and defend the rook. There's probably no reason not to just take this right now. If we did go check and you went king here, I could take this and you bring the rook up. Okay, you know what? Like, we're just going to take the rook. I have 10 material, more than my opponent. We have 1, 2, 3 extra pieces, 2 of them being rooks. I don't know why they're not resigning exactly. Maybe they hope to flag me, I guess. I mean, surely you've got to resign here, dude. Surely you've got to resign. You could give a check, I just go across. You have no more checks. I have about 1 billion different checks. Actually, I don't have that many checks. The queen can't really access the king very easily, although we probably will have queen g4 at some point. Okay, they come with the queen, just blundering a fork immediately. That's an insane move. You've got to resign here, surely. No? I'm going to play on. Okay, we're going to put the king in a little casket here. And they've got to push the pawn, else they're going to get mated. We're just going to come over with the pony. We're not even looking to mate very efficiently here. We're just going to come up. I mean, dude, you have a bunch of pawns. What should I do? Should I, like, mate with a... Also here and here, and then here. No, wait. I know what we're going to do. We're going to let that rook hang. We're going to go... No, actually, we're going to... I mean, we have this mate. Like, I was thinking there's maybe some line where we let it hang, we go up with the king, put the pawn here, go here, here, and checkmate. But with 5.4 seconds, probably just mating like this is the most mature option. Let's look at the analysis. Okay, so here we are in the analysis of that 96% accurate game. You just see a very smooth story of our opponent playing like an idiot in the opening, and us then just pressing that for an advantage until the inevitable, where they just walk into mate. Apparently one mistake, a couple inaccuracies, which of course I wear as a badge of honor. But yeah, let's just have a really quick look through that game. So our opponent started messing around, just doing I don't know exactly what. Yeah, it was okay up until this point because you know what, you can play like a small center pits. You can play this h6 move as a kind of prophylaxis to prevent anything from going to g5. Had they just carried on with the game and, you know, developed further, maybe castled, this could have been playable if a bit passive, but this just starts making no sense. We develop our bishop, and then, yeah, they commit to the king side, on which, after f6, there are just irreconcilable weaknesses. As I said on the light squares, I choose to play queen d2, pretty decent move, castle queen side, get my king out of the way so that we can start throwing pawns forward. Then bishop comes here, we drop back, best move. They fork us here, we get to take the bishop though, and after they taking with the knight, preparing g4, might have made a little more sense according to the engine to take this way, so that after we take with the queen, we maybe have to do a bit more work to get the knight out the way to then push the pawn. Because with taking here, they kind of allowed us to very easily play g4, but keeping that light square bishop was actually a really good decision, the best move in fact, which again, justified by these just irrevocable problems here on the light squares, as I keep referring to. F4, move that knight. We drop back here, in fact, the best move. Awesome, holding the pawn. We then play g4, then play g5, and you see that we slightly concede a little advantage here, just converting what we have as an extreme positional advantage, you know, sacrificing a pawn, maybe giving our opponent some freaky ways to weasel their way out of such a devastating position, but just practically speaking, going in for ideas like this, opening that h-file, you saw how it manifested. Their best move after knight f5 was to just sack the rook for the knight, which makes sense. We then lift the rook, which was the mistake, because we should have just won a pawn with tempo on the rook, I guess, but after hearing this, we do just have e5 and c5, and we can actually, okay, that makes a lot of sense. We can just whack this knight in here, and then maybe go bishop b3, and some sack here. Ooh, okay, maybe I regret not going for that, but I don't really feel like I do, because, you know, if you played queen b6, I guess that comes with tempo in here, actually, but we could have probably easily played bishop b3, to defend that. It's not like the rook's hanging, it's defended by the knight, so, you know, they develop their knight, they miss out on queen b6, which could maybe, you know, think about starting to garner some initiative for them, but once we're stacked here, I mean, the rest of the game, king b1 was clearly very slow. We should have just taken this pawn again. Basically, all the problems with this game were just not taking this pawn. No one cares. Then we take here correctly, push forward with the pawn correctly, they sack, and I mean, it's just all over. We push the pawn, which was actually the best move. Nice. Had they gone for this instead of sacking, we could have still played this, because after here, we can take the queen, promoting to a queen, and even if you take my queen, I'm going to take your rook. We just have 2 queens against the 2 rooks. We also still have our 2 rooks. Of course, that wouldn't go very well. So instead, they decided to sack. We took here, and then, of course, you know, this whole thing collapsed, because why the hell did you put your knight on h7? Why the hell did you weaken your light squares so much? I have no answers for these questions. and then this is mate in 4, but I just, you know, cleaned up the game. Oh, I guess I could have gone check here. Would that have been the mate in 4? It would have been, because of king e8, we can go check here, only move, and then checkmate. So presumably the reason it's mate in 4 is they could throw away the rook. But instead, yeah, we go check. We then deliver this check. I mean, it's all just a matter of preference. They just hang their queen to a fork. Interestingly, we take the queen here. I mean, you know, it's mate in 2. We could very easily checkmate with the rook by playing a move like queen e7 first and then laddering here, basically. But instead, I was trying to do something fancy, but, you know, I think this mate in 1 with the 5 seconds left is pretty nice. An absolutely bullied king here. If I had played this and our opponent had taken, and I'd gone up and they'd gone here, and I'd gone up and they'd promoted, oh no, it would have worked. We could have done this and let them promote. Damn, I couldn't work out exactly how many moves it was. 1, 2, 3, and then whether they had like a promotion with check or something to be able to go 1, 2, 3. Oh, damn. 14 seconds. I should have executed that. That would have been way more stylish. But of course, we get the checkmate. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, found it entertaining, but also maybe slightly helpful. I think often it's quite easy to recognize that your opponent isn't following good general opening principles. You know, everyone who's played chess seriously for any amount of time knows about you should probably make some claim to the center unless you're playing some hyper-modern school of chess. But, you know, probably make some claim to the center, develop all your pieces, don't move the same one multiple times if you don't have to, castle often and early, etc. And it's very easy to recognize that your opponent isn't doing these things, but then actually punishing them for not doing said things, especially if they're playing really passively and they've got this kind of spiky, weird setup here. I think there's an interesting lesson in not trying to launch an attack too quickly and just accepting the tempo and the initiative that you're going to slowly build by continuing to pretty patiently develop. I say that, and then the next move that was played was h4. But, you know, we played queen d2, we castled, we brought the rook over, preparing all of your pieces before launching the attack here. Instead of the approach where you get frustrated immediately, you think this king side's weak, and then because you've developed at this point, you just decide to sack a bishop. Probably this is playable, but you do give away like all your advantage here. So hopefully that idea of noticing the weak light squares, deciding to get rid of that bishop, and then just sitting back with the pieces and being probably a little more patient. You know, I was very much itching to do something, but being a little more patient and a little more methodical definitely does pay off in the long term. Just keep improving the pieces. Even king b1 is playable here. I mean, it's an inaccuracy, but it's completely playable because the kind of weakness we're playing against is a very permanent one. So obviously you don't want to just shuffle your king for a million moves, but slow improvement to then launch your attack at the most appropriate moment. I think this is a pretty decent example of that, or at least I hope so. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back soon with another video. I really appreciate all of you who watch these regularly. It means the world to me, genuinely. Like, my videos get a minimum now of like 4,000 views every time, and I'm just thinking, okay, maybe some of those are bots or something, but this is thousands of people that regularly watch me play chess. It's awesome to me, and I'm genuinely extremely grateful. Like, comment, and subscribe. All that stuff really helps out the channel. If you like the way I play and you're under about 1,500 on chess.com, check out the link in the description or shoot me an email. I do a weekly group session with intermediate and beginner players. I don't claim to be a world-leading expert on this game, but I know for sure that I'm very good at instilling good abstract kind of concepts in stronger beginners and lower level intermediate players that are looking for that boost and that kind of deeper understanding of the game once you've got your tactics and kind of got rid of most blunders. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.